Um, Hi, everyone, and welcome to AI for UX. And this is the space for UX researchers and product leaders to stay current with AI innovations. I'm John Whalen, and I'm the founder of Brilliant Experience, and we're a psychology driven product innovation firm. Me personally, I've struggled to keep up with all the AI tools out there for UX and product research, and I'm guessing I'm not alone. And that's why I started this series. And just to let you know, in each installment, we're speaking with the founder of one of the latest AI enhanced research tools to learn about the tool and how it might benefit you and where the whole field is headed. And just a quick note that these videos aren't product endorsements, and Brilliant Experience always pays full price for any of the tools we use, and no one's getting paid. It's simple. The purpose of this is just to learn about new technologies together. So with that said, let's get started. Um, I wanted to welcome Adam. So Adam Fard is the founder of UX Pilot, and it's a AI UX assistant. So thank you so much for doing this interview with us. We're delighted to have you here, and actually we'll dive right into talking about UX Pilot if you don't mind, and circle back to how it all got started. So maybe you can just tell us a little bit about UX Pilot, its sort of target audience, and the sort of pain points it addresses.
Sure. Thank you also for the invitation.
Sure.
We started our journey as a UX agency focusing on B2B products. And throughout the years within the agency, we had different initiatives, educational content, course training, and we were confronted to some of the issues UXers were facing. And so building our first product, in this case, UX Pilot, was a way to address some of these problems. So mainly targeting UX designers and researchers. And the first feature actually we built in summer was around conducting workshops. So
Mm.
it's quite hard to know what to do, when, and how. Uh, Most of the time, you need to know the exact name of workshop you want to conduct. Maybe find a template. You also want to know. Also need to know how to conduct it. Otherwise, you're kind of lost. And so we kind of brainstorm how we can combine these things together to help designers and researchers create targeted frameworks and workshops, or even find the relevant workshops and be able to conduct it while learning different notes and helps they can get by going through the process.
Wow, and honestly, your product does so much that I actually didn't realize that was the first thing you had built. Um, Maybe could you give us a sense of, and I know we're about to see it as well, but can you give us a sense of the breadth of the different things? So certainly workshops is
Mhm.
one of them that I learned about, but maybe you can just describe some of the breadth of UX Pilot.
So we have two types of features. We have discovery related features, so mainly gathering insights, conducting research, and design related features. So discovery related features can be, again, workshops, analyzing documents, conducting different, going through different processes and transforming text or insights that you have. And design and ideation will be mainly on transforming the insights into something more visual. So it can be diagrams, flowcharts, or even wireframes.
Hmm. Yeah, honestly, the breadth is really notable in my mind, because we're all sort of starting from scratch. Uh, so how, if I'm using this tool, so if I'm not as familiar as I've learned to become with your tool, um, how should I think about working with UX Pilot? And like, so how might my workflow be different once I have and really integrate your tool into what I'm doing in discovery?
So far, and contrary maybe to many other tools out there, we are not trying to reinvent the UX process. We are trying to integrate UX Pilot into your process. So it's more about helping you to do your current process, go through it while having these tools helping you to be more efficient. So it won't really change anything to what you were doing before. It will make you more efficient, maybe give you additional insights, new perspective.
Yeah. Okay. So ultimately, I might have a different perspective, and presumably just literally faster too. Uh, cool. Is there anything that with many of the tools that have AI, there's certainly common I don't know, concerns people have about either things like potential bias that a tool might have, or something like a hallucination where it sees a relationship that doesn't really exist. Um, when you were starting to build your tools, how did you try to address, without going too technical, how did you try to address those kind of things? Or is that something that's been a problem for you guys?
So for sure, we are dealing with AI, so nothing is perfect. You still have to transform the insights or the output you get from the AI and from UX Pilot. But the main difference, and maybe that's the approach that also helped us so far, is that UX Pilot doesn't do the job for you. It's not there to replace you or kind of create the final artifact. It's more of a layer that you add into your process. And I can show you in a bit what I mean by layer or view. And you can always adjust that layer or take that layer or even disregard it or ignore it. So it's giving you
Mm-hmm.
additional things when that's required, when that's possible. And that way you can always be in control of the process and not just get the output and then be afraid that there might be some biases inside.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we've talked about it enough that I'm sure our viewers are like, "Wow, so what is this thing?" So actually, could you take a moment and kind of show us how you might use it, and I can work on sharing your screen. Cool. And maybe you can set
Great.
the stage for us. Like what would be a typical scenario like the one you've got here that you're trying to use it right now?
Okay, so this is the first feature I mentioned that we built last summer around workshops. So you have two ways to tackle this. The first one is basically you go through a set of templates that are predefined based on existing workshops, best practices, and so on. But a more interesting one would to generate your own framework based on the goals that you want to define. We can use something that is existing, like as an example, or we can fine tune it. So let's say you want to design a content strategy for an AR educational app. And you can define the time frame for that workshop, let's say 2 hours, and the number of participants, we can say 6. And you can hit generate. And you can do that multiple times till you're more or less happy, or you want to kind of keep that suggested sequence of activities. So here you have some suggestions like what kind of activity you can do. And on top of that,
Mhm.
you get a manual on what to do and how to conduct that specific workshop.
Wow.
Plus, an email you can send to participants that is generated for you about the workshop, the goal, and some notes to the facilitator how to conduct the workshop properly. So if you're happy with all of that, you can just add it to your FigJam board. Let me close this. So here you can find again the notes, and to close to each activity, you also have additional context
Hmm.
and insights and instructions. In case you're not familiar with that format, you can follow and guide other participants in the process. So that's basically the first
Yeah.
feature, and certain things within the format are dynamic. For example, you have 6 participants, you can see the number here, and certain things are adjusted dynamically.
Hmm. And where actually, just out of curiosity, what were some of the sources for these workshop inspirations?
Some of them are find format like persona workshop, things that we always conducted within the agency. So
Mm-hmm.
uh, based on our own practices, we define
Uh-huh.
these formats.
Cool. Okay, great. So if I'm right,
Now I can show you.
yeah, yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. So that's one thing. Now we have set of tools that you can transform the output of that workshop. Uh, One of the tool, and it's more of a visual tool I wanted to show you, is let's say throughout the workshop you came across certain features, certain use cases that you need to cover inside your product design process. One way to do that is select what's relevant, and then you can generate a diagram based on everything you gather there. Now, what I've gathered here is not necessarily perfectly defined, but still I'm going to show you how this might look like. So here you can see, based on, again, all the inputs, we have a chart based on different flows that we're finding in those sticky notes that kind of visualize some of the insights. Now, again, here you can go ahead and adjust things. If you're not happy, you can regenerate that. And this is already a starting point you can build upon, and you can even be faster, maybe even during the workshop. You can visualize that quickly and then walk different participants through this and see if that's in line with their expectations.
Nice. Oh, it's really interesting. Uh, cool. So that so that's analyzing your workshop, and then I'm still learning. Are there other things that you wanted to make sure that we took a look at as well?
Yeah, something else is not released yet, but it will be released very soon. Is a way to take the analyze of data and insights even further. So here I have insights from a project we worked on in the past about lawyers, their decision-making process, and some of their cognitive profile. So, classical way to analyze this document would be to just go through this text, highlight what's relevant, maybe copy paste some elements and concepts from this document. But on top of that, we allow you to conduct certain analysis, predefined analysis. So here we have two. There will be more. So one is to generate a knowledge graph. So a knowledge graph is
Hmm.
basically set of concepts from that text and their relationships. For example, you can see
Mhm.
concepts that are linked to decision making, emotional context, moral choice, legal system goals that are connected based on the text that was provided there. Oops. Uh, or you can go through different other relationships that are defined. So that's one way you can analyze that text and
Hmm.
find different concepts and meanings within the text. Another way is to go through clusters. Now, this is right now based on sentences, taking sentences and we cluster them based on their meanings. We can also change the number of clusters you have. So if you have a low amount of clusters, you will mainly see outliers. If you increase the numbers, you start seeing more uh, details on how certain
Mhm.
things can be categorized. For example, here we can see like challenges in legal education. We see teaching methods, like they are clustered together, or system goals that is kind of an outlier on its own. Risk averse strategies with uh, lawyer clients relationships
Mhm.
that are also clustered together.
Mhm.
So it's kind of a way for you to quickly see different elements and different categories of information from the original text at a.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So would this be, for example, insights from qualitative interviews, or is there sort of a body of work that you would think this is most relevant for?
It depends. So we are building tools that you can use and experiment with, depending on the output, depending on the information and insights that you have. So for example, if you have an interview, maybe clustering would be the right approach to kind of cluster different information from that interview, but maybe the knowledge graph won't be that insightful, or maybe sentiment analysis will be more relevant to analyze that interview. So you can conduct this analysis on a text basis, but you can also conduct them on your whole body of text or body of insights at once to see different patterns among them.
Interesting. And what have you found interesting about, like, so kind of, are there any sort of discoveries you've made essentially with for example, your knowledge graph? If you don't mind just bringing that up again, it was that was really interesting. I don't think I've seen anything quite like this recently that would, sort of automatically does this. Um, so yeah, is there an example you would give of, yeah, when we were looking at this in this circumstance, we found something, neat that we weren't necessarily expecting?
So these tools, actually, we use them in the agency while working
Hmm.
on projects. We use many knowledge engineering processes. So this is also a way to bring those tools and make them available to researchers, because I don't think those tools
Hmm.
are quite common um, in the research process. Mainly, maybe the tagging or coding a text is a common thing, but not necessarily using
Yeah,
graphs or building relationships between concepts.
yeah,
So we
that's
also
quite.
use that mainly in the information architecture.
Got it. No,
Yeah.
that makes a lot of sense. Well, how cool. Well, thank you for showing us that. Is there anything else that you wanted to show us, or I think that's about it?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the discovery phase, that's pretty much the main
Yeah.
features I wanted to showcase.
Yeah, that's what I was expecting. Well, great. Well, here, let me just bring us back, just the two of us, for a moment. And I actually did want to ask too. You've got your agency. There's lots you could be working on that isn't this. So really, just what inspired you to launch the product and do it for this field? Like, how did that get started?
Um, so from what I see out there in terms of products, I think most of the UX or design products with AI flavor, they are focusing on the UI side of things. And maybe because they're not built by UX professionals,
Hmm.
they see the whole UX process as a linear process where you have your prompt and then suddenly you have a flow and you a bunch of screens and you're done. And this might work if you're building a weather app or a yoga app, but it doesn't really work in for most use cases. So there is a lot of there's a room for exploration. There's a lot of back and forth. You have to integrate new insights, and the whole process is quite messy and can be challenging. And because we couldn't really find anything out there, we said we can maybe
Hmm.
change and transform this side project we started with for workshops into something more uh, substantial, something
Hmm.
that is more
Hmm.
comprehensive, and that can also bring some of our processes and make them available to other researchers, designers.
Oh, it's very cool. And I do really appreciate our field in that there are, our role often is to make the world a little bit better for our clients and their ultimate users. And so and other humans. And so it's great that you've done this for us as a field as well. It's really thoughtful. And I guess I was wondering, is there anything that you've found? Either you're really proud that you all figured out how to make this work, or anything that was really tough to do along the way that you wanted to mention?
Um, One thing I think that's kind of a change or something that's happening within the company is that we started as a side project trying to apply AI to some of the UX processes. And I think we are moving from that, from being that kind of product company to a data company. And we're kind of seeing the need of building
Hmm.
actually very specific AI models focused on like much smaller AI models, but focused on very specific UX challenges. And that's kind of the next step, I would say, for us, and also the next challenge, because we need to build specific data sets, train AI models in order to have something more effective in the process.
Hmm. Yeah, it's really interesting. And actually, just so the smaller AI tools, and probably just because they're more focused and more precise. What's an example of something you're applying those models to?
To give you a concrete example from what we saw, like clustering, you don't need a large language model to do the clustering. You can use a much more smaller and specific model to do that.
Got it.
And for other potential things, could be predicting certain behavior based on a layout, or
Hmm.
creating attention or meaning maps based on a UI
Yeah.
or an app layout.
Well, maybe this is a good time. It's clear how thoughtful you've been in your approach. I guess I was really wondering where you see both UX Pilot evolving to in the next while, and also ultimately how you see UX or product discovery research changing over the next, I don't know, year or two.
Well, as I said, definitely a focus more on the on being a data company and building
Hmm.
those models, but also making them available potentially to other tools, because we are not trying to reinvent Figma, Miro, or other tools out there, but trying to integrate our data and that AI layer into them. So that's I think one of the uh, possibilities that we're exploring right now.
Hmm.
In terms
So
of
yeah, please go ahead.
future for US.
Literally, yeah. I guess I gave you two questions. So how you see our UX research changing over the next few years, and how we do our work.
I don't think AI will replace a researcher, but for sure, certain parts of the process will be replaced. Like as of now, like transcribing or summarizing, connecting concepts, or even drawing concepts using components. You might not necessarily need a designer to create quick sketches based on some insights you uncovered during the research. But the research and the thinking behind research and how to conduct the research and so on won't
Hmm.
really go away. Those fundamental skills will still be there.
Got it. Well, that's good news for me. It doesn't have to be good news there, but um, no, I really appreciate how innovative your team have been, and so actually is uh, are you dedicating your um, really to becoming this data and product company? Then it's really a full focus of yours.
Yes, I switched to Xpilot this year, so full time.
Nice. Well, congratulations on the transition to the product world. I hope you're enjoying it, and really, these are all the questions I wanted to ask. It's just wanted to give people a general sense of this, and also kind of your motivations and thoughts, and it's come through very clearly. It's great. If people want to give this a try, maybe you can just tell us. I could share a screen, or you could just talk us through how do they give UX Pilot a try.
Well, go to uxpilot.ai and they can sign up there and use some of these features on the web, or also get access to the Figma plugin to use them in Figma.
Got it. Well, honestly, Adam, that's great, and I'll just stop there. But thank you so much for what you've done. And here, let me go ahead and just close this out. So thank you very much, Adam, and for sharing a UX pilot with us. And that's all for today. So thank you
Thank you.
for this, and thank you to all the people following along to learn about the latest AI for UX research. And subscribe if you enjoyed today's video, and we look forward to seeing you at the next. Please give us comments on what else you'd like to see going forward, and wishing you all brilliant insights with AI.